Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever truly wondered why your most profound fears only find their voice when the rest of the world is silent? You see, there is a peculiar weight to the darkness that settles between midnight and dawn. It is a time when the distractions of the day, the emails, the social obligations, and that constant hum of productivity finally evaporate, leaving us standing alone on the shoreline of our own subconscious. To many, this is a time of dread. We lie awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the crushing gravity of what-ifs and if-onlys. But tonight, I want to invite you to look at this stillness through a different lens. This isn't just a period of lost sleep. It is the silent hour, a sacred space where the mind finally feels safe enough to stop pretending. We often treat our midnight anxiety like an intruder, a thief stealing our peace, right? We categorize it as a glitch in our biology or a failure of our willpower, whispering with curiosity. But what if we have been misinterpreting the signal all along? Softly, what if these intrusive thoughts aren't your enemies, but messengers, speaking a forgotten language that your soul is desperate for you to translate? Firmly but calm. During the daylight, we are architects of our own masks. We construct versions of ourselves that can navigate the demands of the modern world. Often, at the expense of our deepest truths. We suppress, we pivot, and we ignore. But the midnight hour is a mirror that refuses to be covered. It is the moment when the shadow self steps out from the periphery and demands a seat at the table. To find peace, you see, we must stop trying to silence the messenger and start learning the dialect of our own inner depths. As we peel back the layers of this nocturnal unrest, I want you to consider a radical possibility that might just change how you view your darkest moments. What if your brain isn't sabotaging you, but trying to save you from what you ignored at noon? Ladies and gentlemen, when the world finally falls silent and the blue light of your phone fades to black, you are left with the one thing we spend our entire day trying to outrun: stillness. You see, in the daylight, we are masters of distraction. We are the architects of busy schedules, the managers of crises, and the keepers of other people's peace. But as you lay there, staring at the soft shadows on your ceiling, the stillness begins to take on a physical weight. It presses against your chest, making your heart race as if you've been running a marathon. One you never even signed up for. Deeply, almost a whisper. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the midnight spiral. It is the moment the brain decides to audit your life. It starts with a replay of a minor social awkwardness from 3 years ago, and quickly escalates into a terrifying projection of a future you haven't even lived yet. Compassionate. But for many of you, particularly the women listening, this isn't just a random glitch in your biology. It is the arrival of a long overdue bill.
Throughout the day, you perform what psychologists call emotional labor. You navigate the moods of your colleagues, the needs of your family, and the subtle tensions of your social circles. You swallow your own frustrations to maintain the frame, right? The frame of a peaceful home or a productive workspace. You are essentially taking out high-interest emotional loans just to get through the day. And the subconscious mind, ladies and gentlemen, is a relentless debt collector. When the lights go out, it demands payment. In full. The silence of the night feels like an interrogation, because for the first time in 16 hours, there is no one else to fix, no one else to please, and nowhere else to hide. The weight of stillness is actually the weight of everything you pushed aside at noon, now demanding to be felt. Your racing heart isn't an error, it's a signal that your inner world is finally speaking at a volume you can no longer ignore. But as you lay there, caught in this loop of past mistakes and future dread, you might notice something peculiar. This interrogation isn't just about what you did wrong. It's actually pointing toward a specific, hidden architecture within your mind, a structure that determines exactly which fears keep you awake while others sleep soundly. Because while the heart races in the dark, it is actually following a map that was drawn long before you ever tucked yourself into bed tonight. But what if the person who drew that map wasn't actually you? Ladies and gentlemen, you see, we often think of midnight anxiety as an intruder, a thief that breaks into our peace and steals our rest. But if we look closer, much closer at the psychological machinery of the human mind, we discover a much more profound truth. Your anxiety is not a thief. It is a courier. You know, during the daylight hours, we are masters of suppression. We have to be, right? Between the demands of our careers, the complexities of our relationships, and that endless digital noise of the modern world, we simply do not have the emotional bandwidth to process every micro-tension we encounter. To function, to be productive, and to stay composed, we file these moments away. We shove the uncomfortable realization about a friendship, the simmering resentment at a colleague, or the quiet fear of inadequacy into a mental drawer labeled later. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the subconscious backlog. Think of it as a biological and psychological house cleaning process. When the sun sets and the external world finally stops screaming for your attention, the internal world begins its shift. In the silence of your bedroom, there is no more later. Your mind, seeking equilibrium, begins the necessary work of filing those ignored emotions. It pulls those heavy files out of the drawer and it spreads them across your bed, demanding you look at them. In this light, your racing heart is not a sign of a broken mind, but an active one. It is the sound of your psyche trying to catch up with itself. The quiet messenger is merely delivering the truths you were too distracted to hear at noon. It is a vital attempt, you see, to restore order to your inner landscape before a new day begins. To find peace. We must stop viewing these moments as an attack and start viewing them as an invitation. We must learn to read the message instead of shooting the messenger. However, understanding that your mind is simply cleaning house is only the first step. Low voice. Because while most of these messages are just reflections of our daily stress, there is a specific, recurring type of midnight dread that isn't about what happened today. Gravelly voice. It's about something much older and much deeper. Whispering. And the reason it's so terrifying isn't because it's loud, but because of the one specific person it's trying to wake up. Ladies and gentlemen, that person your subconscious is trying to wake up, well, it's not your victimized self, but your observant self. Philosophical voice. To bridge the gap between this midnight dread and the rest you truly deserve, We must move beyond mere understanding and into the realm of the protocol for peace. Gently, voice. You see, we cannot fight shadows with a sword. We must greet them with a lantern. The first step in this protocol is what psychologists call radical invitation. Contemplative voice. Usually, when anxiety strikes at 3 a.m., our immediate internal response is resistance. Softer voice. We tighten our muscles, we pray for it to stop, and we treat the thought like an intruder. Firmly voice. This resistance only signals to your nervous system that you are under attack, deepening the fight or flight response. Suggestive voice. Instead, try the opposite. Whispering voice. Mentally say the words, I am listening. Calmly voice. By inviting the thought in rather than pushing it out, you shift your brain from a state of panic to a state of observation. Reassuringly voice. You are no longer the person drowning. You are the lifeguard, watching from the shore. Once you have invited the message, you must give it a place to live that is not inside your head. Directly voice. This is the midnight dictation technique. Philosophical voice. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a profound psychological weight to the physical act of writing. Authoritative voice. Keep a journal and a pen by your bed. Avoid your phone, as the blue light will only further disrupt your circadian rhythm. Softer voice. When the fears feel ethereal and overwhelming, move them from the mind to the paper. Solemnly voice. By documenting the dread, you are performing a symbolic exorcism. Calmly voice. You are proving to your subconscious that its message has been captured and it will not be forgotten, allowing your mind to finally let go of the burden of holding the worry. Finally, you must establish what we call the daytime appointment. Analytical voice. Your anxiety is like an overzealous messenger who doesn't realize the office is closed for the night. Firmly voice. If you don't answer the door, well, it will keep pounding. Calmly voice. Address it directly. Softer voice. Tell your anxiety, I hear your concerns, and I commit to addressing them at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. By scheduling a specific time to worry, when your logical prefrontal cortex is at its full strength, you effectively signal to your nervous system that the message has been delivered, and the delivery person can go home. These 3 steps, they create a bridge back to tranquility. However, even with these tools in hand, many wonder why the mind chooses this specific, lonely hour to strike. It isn't just about the silence of the room, right? There's a hidden biological witching hour for our emotions that science is only just beginning to map. And what researchers have discovered about the chemistry of the human soul at 3 o'clock in the morning suggests that our midnight fears might not be our own at all. Ladies and gentlemen, this biological witching hour, it reveals a truly profound truth. We are most vulnerable when the world is most still. But you see, in that vulnerability lies our greatest opportunity for growth. This is the moment where we finally stop running and start becoming whole. While biology explains the how of our racing hearts at 3 in the morning, it is philosophy that explains the why. If we look closer, we realize that midnight anxiety is not an intruder. It is, in fact, an invitation. Deeply, Carl Jung once spoke of the shadow self, those hidden parts of our psyche we tuck away during the busy, sunlit hours just to maintain our social masks. In the silence of the night, when the world stops demanding productivity and performance, these shadows finally emerge. Kindly, they aren't there to haunt you. No, they are there to be heard. When you stop fighting the dark and you start listening to it, something truly miraculous happens. Empowering. You begin to integrate. Slowly, you stop being a person of fragments and start becoming a person of depth. Firmly,
To respect your anxiety is to respect your own humanity. It is to acknowledge that you are a complex being, capable of great worry, only because you are a being capable of great love and profound concern for your own journey. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not fear the dark. See it instead as a sanctuary, a quiet laboratory where the rawest truths of your life can finally be examined, without judgment. Compassionate, by greeting your midnight fears with a gentle curiosity, rather than a cold panic, you bring light into the basement of your soul. You are not broken for being awake. You are simply being called to witness yourself. As you move forward, remember that the sun always rises, but the wisdom gathered in the night, that's what guides us through the day. We are all navigating this vast inner landscape together, and you are never as alone as the midnight silence makes you feel. I invite you now, truly, to share your own midnight realizations in the comments below. What has the silence of the night taught you about yourself? Warmly, let us build a community of shared healing and understanding right here. And if you feel called to continue this journey into the depths of the human soul, please subscribe to Mindscapes Explored. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, may your nights be peaceful, and may your shadows be your teachers.